Eddie Hearn, great way to kick off the new year, A, with a big show, and B, with a new signing, Tom Stalker. You sound very excited about Stalker. What have you got in store for him this year?
Well, plenty of fights, and that's the key to all the success of these young fighters. We'll be looking, we'll make an announcement at the end of this week about his first fight, which will be before the March 30th. And we're looking to get him out probably 10 times this year. He's 28 years of age, he's ready to go now. So we need to get him challenging for British titles by the end of the year. I feel he can do it, I feel he's a great fighter. It excites me because he's a little bit different to a lot of the other guys we signed. Obviously, 20, 21, he's 28, he's got 2 daughters, he's fighting for sometimes other reasons that the youngsters are fighting. And he's an inspirational story, and he's also captain of one of the most successful GB team, Olympic teams ever. So of course you've got that pedigree, and sometimes you just sit down with a fighter and you talk to him and you get excited, and I think he's going to end up being a big hero from this city of Liverpool and a massive ticket setter as well.
You're there at the press conference today, you've got a number of boxers sat at the top table, but that's just a portion of your stable. As a promoter, it must be exciting to have such a deep and packed stable, because you've got the likes of Yafai, Carl Froch obviously, and Gavin Rees. How exciting is it this year to have that many fighters?
Well, it's so exciting. It's a case of managing every fighter individually and promoting every fighter individually, that everybody gets the opportunities they need. I'd never ever sign a fighter that I felt I couldn't give them what they needed. So therefore it's a case of making sure Cardle, Callum Smith, Martin Ward, Yafai, Tom Stalker get out 7, 8, 9, 10 times a year, and I can do that with the number of shows that I've got. And of course, with all these fights coming up in America as well, Reese against Broner, Brook against Alexander, I can take my young talent to those shows as well. So many, different levels of fighters across the stable. Obviously, you've got Froch, you've got Brook, you've got Barker, you've got Bellew, you've got Frampton, Reese, and then down the bottom, you've got the young kids who are coming up. And even in the middle, you've got the sort of semi-emerging fighters, John Ryder, Rocky Fielding, Lee Purdy, those kind of guys. So it's really exciting times at the moment. And I feel these next couple of years is a massive time for British boxing, because I've got plans of what I want to do for the game, for the sport and our fighters, and if I can make it happen and deliver it, I think boxing is going to be right back on the map again.
You've mentioned there Rees against Broner. Broner's a prodigious talent. You've got Brook against the very tricky and accomplished Alexander, and you've got Bellew, possibly if he wins this fight, maybe having to travel for the likes of Dawson or Pascal. Is the idea further down the line to get those big fights in this country as well?
Yeah, it is, but the only way that can happen is through pay-per-view. And in my opinion, the only 2 fights that are pay-per-view at the moment in this country is Froch against Kessler and Brook against Khan. And other than that, they haven't got the credibility is the wrong word. They haven't just got the attraction and the demand to be a pay-per-view fight. So in that case, they have to travel. Brook against Alexander is not a pay-per-view fight. Reese against Broner is not a pay-per-view fight. So we go where we all sit down around a table. I mean, it's funny when you listen to boxing fans sometimes on Twitter or on the forums, and they say, "Oh, he's sending his fighter out there," but then you get criticised for if you give him an easier fight over here. So Kell Brook, it was like, oh, he's fighting Saldivar in a final, even say, what's that all about? And all of a sudden, boom, oh, that's a tough fight. What's he putting him in that for? Or Broner, oh, why is he sending him for Broner? I'll tell you why I'm sending out Gavin Rees to fight Adrian Broner. 1, he's a British, European and former world champion. 2, it's life-changing money. 3, it's an opportunity on HBO. And 4, do you know what? We think we've got a sneaky little chance. So what do you want to do with your life? Sit at home in your 9-to-5 job with no aspirations, or you want to do something with yourself, do something with your life, win another world title, showcase yourself with the biggest sporting network in the world? It's an absolute no-brainer. And people have got to understand, you've got to take chances in boxing. You take chances in life. You take chances every time you cross the road. That's what the sport's about. Not about being safe. You've got to make a living. You've got to take chances. You've got to achieve. And that's why people like, and the Kell Brook's different situation. That's a 50-50 fight. But he's become a mandatory challenger. He's getting great money, no options to win a world title, change his life and become a massive star in British sport. So, we know what we're doing. And every decision that we make, I believe there's an understanding and explanation for it, and that's why I try and tell people on Twitter, phone me up in the office and I'll tell you. They never phone. It's really annoying.
And behind that, they may be going over to the States. You're also building Brook Bellew into big stars in their home cities over here, which is a difficult task in itself. But Brook, I mean, he's selling out Sheffield quite easily now. It must be satisfying to you as well to not only get the big fights in the States, but to be able to make stars in their hometowns.
Yeah, that's very important, and we've done it with Brook. I mean, Brook is a good example. Every fighter now sits down and they say to me, you know, who wants to sign with Matchroom, I want you to do for me what you did with Kell Brook. It's not that easy. But Tony Bellew is a good example. And the proof will be in the pudding with Tony Bellew when we see how this show does. We've boxed him in London, we've boxed him in Nottingham, we've given him massive exposure on Sky. Now we return back to Liverpool. Let's see how popular he is now. And I believe we're going to sell the stadium out. You know, I really do. It's a great fight against Chilemba. For the boxing man, you know, there's two different audiences, isn't there? There's the casual fan and there's the boxing fan. You go on East Side Boxing, for example, other sites and forums are available, and you look at the thread about Tony Bellew against Chilemba. What a great fight. Oh, I couldn't call that either way. Oh, yeah, you go up to the man on the street and you say Tony Bellew against Isaac Chilemba. Who's Isaac Chilemba? So you can't really win either way. The Edison Miranda fight is someone that a casual fan would go, oh, I know Edison Miranda. He fought, he broke Abraham's jaw, blah, blah, blah. So, again, every fight happens for a different reason, but this fight happens purely because the winner becomes the mandatory challenger for the WBC title, and it doesn't get much bigger than that,